And I'd rather have those people that I got to pull in the reins.
So talk about standards. I think it's the second one that you talk about in your book. Are there ever times where you are not as strict?
The immediate impression that everyone would consider of me, and I hear this all the time, is that Jocko would allow no slack whatsoever, no mercy on anything, right? You're out of regulations, I'm going to drop the hammer on you. Well, the fact of the matter is, that doesn't work as a leader. In the military, you know, people wear patches on their uniforms. Well, the SEAL teams has a reputation for being very unprofessional, don't really know how to wear our uniforms well. We don't wear our uniforms a lot. We have mix and match gear. We buy civilian gear. We wear that. We just have a bad reputation. And one of the things that once the war started and we started getting these high-speed camouflage uniforms with Velcro everywhere, well, guys started making their own patches. And the patches were, you know, some of them were just cool, you know, whatever, some skull or a knife or whatever.
Guys making their own patches.
Guys make their own patches. Here's a typical one. There's one that guys would make that say fun meter, and it would be a meter that's pegged like, okay, we're maxed out on fun here. That's a typical kind of the type of thing that people would make. Well, I knew from working with the conventional forces that the way you appear in a uniform is very important. You know, you were in the Army, especially at an airborne division. I mean, you wear the same PT uniform, you wear the same uniform, you have it squared away all the time. That's the way it is. And I knew that also soldiers and officers in the Army and Marines and Marine Corps, when they look at someone that's out of uniform, they look at that person and says, this guy can't even put on a uniform, right? How am I going to trust him out on the battlefield? That's just the mindset that they have. It's a good mindset, right? If you don't have attention to detail on that stuff, that's a problem. Well, in the SEAL teams, we're real slack about that. I said to my guys, look, we're not wearing patches, no patches. And my two platoon commanders, they said, okay, you know, fine, no patches, we won't wear patches. But they really wanted to wear patches. So behind my back, they went and they got patches made, task unit bruiser patches. What they would do is, if they were going on an operation that I wasn't going on, when they'd roll out the wire, they'd make a call on the radio and say, patches on, and they'd pull out their patches and put their patches on. They basically disobeyed a direct order from me. Would have been fine, except for there was a certain operation that they went on, there was an embedded photographer on. And the pictures came back, and I had all the pictures. And I see all my guys with patches that I told them not to wear. You know what I did? I didn't do anything.
You didn't bring it up?
I didn't bring it up. I realized, number one, we were fighting in a very hard environment where troops were getting wounded and killed every single day.
Where were you at this time?
We were at Ramadi.
Okay.
For me to focus my leadership capital on something that small was a complete waste of my leadership capital. Number two, I realized that these guys, that was a boost in their morale. That made them feel like a tighter unit. They gave these patches out to Army guys. That was a big deal for them. It meant a lot to them. And so for me to go in and rip that morale away from them would have been a downstep in their vision of me and their respect for me, would have antagonized our relationship. I didn't come out and say, hey guys, I saw the patches, you're fine to wear them. And Leif was talking about this, you know, he thought I was just gonna drop the hammer on him. And I didn't say anything. And the guys continued to do it, and it was not a big deal. Now, they didn't wear any inappropriate patches. The patches that they wore were all the same, so it was uniform. But the answer to your question, which is probably the opposite of what a lot of people think I'm gonna say, is like, what are you gonna waste your leadership capital on?
We work day and night just to provide you guys with the best content. If you can't help us financially, please subscribe to the channel. It really, really helps us grow.